What if Rachel decides to put NI on land and property? Who wants to take that?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on that one. This is would have a massive impact, really, where you've got so many landlords currently subject to income tax on their rent. But if they suddenly had to be subject to NI on top of that, it's going to be a huge extra chunk of tax that they're going to have to fork out for.
And what would that be percentage-wise, just for viewers?
So it depends which class they apply to.
Yeah,
sort of
right.
things.
I imagine they'd probably go down the route of treating it like self-employment income, I would assume, which would, I would say 6% at the moment. 6%. Up to your sort of 50,000 and then the 2% above. So it's still going to be a big chunk if they were to deem it in that way. I mean, it's difficult to know how else to do it, but that's that's sort of where I've read articles on it and sort of seen things crop up. That's most likely, I think, is that they would, rather than defining it as rental income or self-employment, it's just all defined as like a business self-employment income. And taxed and denied in that way.
And you could sort of see it going along that lines with the introduction of MTD for income tax. And if it's going to be treated alongside like rental
Very
is,
true, actually,
then it somewhat comes at the time where they're implementing that suddenly it becomes blurred as to what's rental income, what's trading income. And it's all one and the same, which would go hand in hand with applying it to being relevant for NI. And then suddenly a whole different tax is being introduced on an income that historically has only had income tax applied.
It's actually a really good point Declan made, where he referred to MTD, which is making tax digital, and the requirements for landlords and self-employed people with income over 50,000 from April next year to submit these quarterly submissions. So not to pay the tax yet, but just to make the submissions. And actually, I hadn't thought of that, but Declan's very right in sort of saying, well, already they're sort of putting those two things in a similar category. So, yeah, interesting. I'd not thought of that actually until you said that, but that could suggest that that is something that would then follow. So one to watch probably.
Yeah, and I think with the difficulty of making, I suppose, property work in terms of making a profit from it seems to get harder and harder and harder. So is this going to be the final push to those that are just surviving being private landlords, do you think? Do you expect to see more people?
If that was to happen, I would say it would be,
it's just sending the wrong message, isn't it? For those that are already thinking, I probably don't want to keep going with this.
Especially if they've just got one property maybe left.
Yeah.
I would think so. I think it would be.
And would this push people to then actually maybe put it into a company?
Quite possibly.
Is that the thinking that maybe people should be doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, if that was to happen, the NI was to come in, then obviously you'd want to act quite quickly, potentially, to try and get it into a company. Whether you would need to try and beat that with the budget, probably not necessarily. But yeah, certainly I think it would be a factor to more people considering the company route.
Okay. Brilliant.